Are you certain? It wasn't easy getting here.
Exactly. It makes it harder to get on, but they spot check less often. It's just what I heard. Makes sense, though. More tourists here, they wouldn't want to scare them away.
You think that would stop them from grabbing someone they think is illegal? I think they'd use it as an example.
They might, but it's less likely during the day. Come on, let's have a look at some of the murals. People come from all around the world to see this.
Idiots. Anyone coming to this city, now, as a tourist, is completely fucking oblivious. This is London Calling. You're here with me, Tash, on Buccaneer, your source for what they don't want you to know. In today's world, we've all had to get used to our every move being tracked by the optic on our temples, by the cameras around us, and with every click we make online. Seems like everything we do feeds the big data beast. Why are data giants like Bloom so hungry to get hold of our private information and our metadata? What are they using it for? Will we ever have real private lives again? What is privacy in the digital world? And what happens when capitalism and surveillance become one? As you know, we keep all names confidential on Buccaneer. Speaking from a secure location, here's new technology strategist Charles, who worked all over the world trying to keep democracy strong in the face of the data assault.
If you have enough personal data on somebody, you're able to predict what it is that they're going to do. You can tell what they might be passionate about, but mostly you can tell what they fear. And if you can tell what someone fears, then you can manipulate them and you can move them in particular directions. Like, data is collected on citizens in every possible way. Data is collected through surveillance cameras. Data is collected from television sets. Data is collected from voter records. It's collected from how much power do you use in your house and how much water do you use in your house. In pre-crisis Britain, we got really used to all of our services being free. Everything suddenly became free that was digital. But what people forgot is that if you're not paying for it, then you're the product being sold.
If technology brings out the worst in capitalism, capitalism brings out the worst in technology. Senior academic Alfie tells us how big business repurposes big data.
Historically, what's happened, of course, is that people have traded their privacy for their convenience. As smartphones and other kinds of technology came in and became mass-consumed, mass-used items and technological objects, gradually people were so attracted to the affordances of these technologies that privacy kind of retreated into the background and into a state we've got now where it's essentially gone. Having this access to this data makes huge tech companies like Bloom so much more powerful than they would be otherwise, and not just in the obvious ways. Of course, there's a lot of worry and fear over what they can do with the data. They can track anyone, find anyone, see what every individual is doing at any point in time. But I think there's even deeper reasons why this data empowers these huge companies to control our society and make us do things. So lots of predictive technologies which are implemented by these tech giants. It's not only interested in knowing what we're going to do, but influencing the patterns of our movement. So technologies might suggest routes to use in the city, places to go, restaurants to go to, cafes to go to, music to listen to. And these suggestions are not just predicting what we might like to do, they're actually influencing the way citizens move, think, eat, meet, and use their city as a space. So London has become a place where a small group of surveillance capitalist companies like Bloom can control the movements of individuals and orchestrate the way they move around their city and the way they essentially live, the things they do, the things they enjoy and the life they lead. So we're really kind of outsourcing our decision making, I would say, to a huge corporate capitalist company, and there's something very, very scary about that indeed. All these technologies can be used to not only influence us to act as the perfect consumer, but also to prevent us from doing radical and revolutionary things. So technologies in foreign nations that have been used are things like heat map features, which show where populations are gathering. In-game rewards can be offered to people to take different routes, things like that. Traffic data can be manipulated to prevent people gathering and protesting, as has happened in some of the authoritarian regimes across the world recently. So what we're looking at is not only a set of technologies which make people behave as ideal consumers, but ones which actually can be put to use to prevent radical and disruptive behaviour in the city, which limits the power of any kind of revolutionary force.
So, if you thought you had a private life, get used to it. You don't. And we're not going to reclaim our lives without a fight. I'm Tash, and you've been listening to Buccaneer, keeping the resistance informed. Keep listening, keep fighting, and remember, nobody owns you but you.
What the hell is going on over there? You are supposed to contain such fuck-ups. How can we have a drone collision in the middle of the city? You know, a person died, right? Hit by flying debris. How can we have press there prior to any cleanup team? And now we've got a bloody scandal. Not only shouldn't any such event ever happen, but even if it did, it must be contained. I have to send one of my teams now to clean the area, silence the press, and be on the lookout for over-talkative witnesses. All this effort is avoidable. That's why Cato exists. I don't want anything like this to happen, ever. That's if you value your job and your freedom, for all it matters.
I received it, yes, but it's not what I asked for.
I'm sorry you haven't enjoyed our product, ma'am. Now, with our 10-day satisfaction policy, we can provide you with a replacement within a few days.
Okay, cut the customer service crap. The request I submitted was very detailed. I specifically asked for 10 years of age. This one is older. I want a refund, and I'll just take my business elsewhere.
Ma'am, we tried to accommodate your order to the best of our abilities, but we are experiencing a supply shortage. Let me send you one of our younger models, free of charge. See if it suits you.
No. Pubescent doesn't cut it. The person I was in contact with guaranteed that the ages were thoroughly checked before shipment. This is an outright scam. The network will hear about this.
Hi, Pumpkin, it's me. First off, I'm sorry. I lost my head. I didn't stop, just pint. It's no one's fault, but that computer putting us cabbies on the fucking dole. On my way now. I don't know how far I'll get, but so help me, I'll get in range of that fucking box of bloody circus. I'm gonna give it a thrashing. I'm gonna...
"999, which service do you require?"
Police, please.
Okay, connecting. Just hold.
Hackney Police, can I help you?
Yes, hello? I'd like to report a possible crime. Maybe even a murder.
What do you mean, ma'am?
I've been hearing some screaming the last few nights. Over at that old warehouse, the oval one, yeah? Haven't been able to sleep a wink. But tonight it's gotten worse. Incessant screaming like someone's being tortured. I think I even heard a couple of gunshots.
Madam, I'm sure this is merely someone's telly being turned on too loud. Happens all the time.
Do you mean you're not going to do anything? Not even come and investigate it? You lot are good for nothing these days, aren't you?
Oh, I wouldn't say that, ma'am. We do plenty round here, you know. Why, just the other day I was directing the traffic.
Wanker!
Are you lost? Or tempest tossed? Welcome to Clare Waters. Remember when London was cool? When Piccadilly was a funky place to hang out? The system is broken. That's why we can't have nice things. Are you lost? Or tempest tossed? Welcome to Clare Waters. Is it getting a little Orwellian here, or is it just me? I wasn't around in '84, but I imagine there was a collective sigh of relief when the Brits realised that George's totalitarian dystopia hadn't come to be. But was it truly a pass, or merely a reprieve?
Good evening. Greetings to you all. Today is about love. What, if not love, binds our souls together in the big family called humanity? God's love and our love for our neighbor both guide our spiritual path. They shine beacons on our moral steps through this life and open the gates of a brighter one to come. Love is needed now, more than ever. We have to open up to it and let it guide us. We must show to those unwanted that they have a home, that they have brothers and sisters who care for them, who can offer them peace and warmth and selfless care. This is a calling we must adhere to. Let's open our doors and let's share our bread. Let our hearts become mightier than fear and darkness. This parish will become a haven for those who need protection, a bed for the tired, a table for the hungry, and an embrace for the lonely. We must all accept this role given to us by our faith. We must not stand by while angst boils into hate. Let's pray.
You know, when I was a boy, I used to come here with my old man, when it was a great hall for members only. What's all we called it. Should have seen it. Oh, it was grand. Books and art everywhere. Great paintings on the walls, portraits, landscapes. There was even one of my ancestors in one of them. My old man told me, Lord, it was a sight to see. Looked like a museum, with precious objects in glass boxes and all. Now I'm back here again. Old man's dead. Rot's Hall is a dump. And I'm a squatter.
The Buccaneer, this is the Bug. Hello, Resistors, it's Bug time. Are you all sitting comfortably? No? Good, that's as it should be. This is the Bug, I'm Andy, and joining me to analyse the latest blowflies to emerge from the corpse of a once free Britain, it's Alice.
Hello, Andy.
And today, we're going to talk to you about Albion, your friends and mine. Alice, the government has extended Albion's contract and have also boasted that violent crime has plummeted to a record low. Now, extending Albion's contract, to me, that's like having a pet dog, let's call it Nigel for the sake of argument, that attacks you every single day and thinking to yourself, wouldn't it be nice if Nigel had puppies?
That contract has been extended so many times, it's like the neck of a politician that's criticised the government.
I'm not sure entirely how those contract extension negotiations went, probably like a footballer. In the old days, I assume Albion's agent was leaking stories to the press about how our favourite private militia was being tapped up by Barcelona or Bayern Munich. The government panics and thinks, well, we better get them signed up before it's too late. But still, violent crime, a record low, although I imagine that probably depends exactly how you count it. If you include violent crime committed by the state, either themselves or via Albion, their chosen violent crime contractors, who provide such a very valuable bargain service of beating people up, well, it's probably not quite as low as the figures suggest.
I don't know. I think they're probably right. Who has the opportunity to commit violent crime these days anyway? The moment you pick up a fruit knife, you get tasered by a robot policeman and deported for looking Bulgarian. It's a much more peaceful society. It's just much less of a society.
I want to know the details of the contracts, Alice. I mean, are they paid per dissident duffed up? Is it a set rate for each extrajudicial state mugging? And what is that rate? What do you think?
Well, they certainly look like they're trying to hit a quota of some kind.
Well, what is the set rate? Is it, 99.95 cryptos bargain? Seems very reasonable indeed. I imagine they don't ask too much anyway, because it's just so nice to get paid for doing your hobby anyway, isn't it? I imagine it doesn't even feel like work.
I mean, who needs violent crime anymore anyway? You know, you can just starve to death without even starting a gang war.
We do have to ask, exactly what does the Prime Minister make of all this? Let's ask him. Oh, I hope they pick up. Hello, you're through to number 10 Downing Street. Hello, is the Prime Minister there, please? Let me just check. Sorry, you've missed him. I'm afraid he's popped out for the decade. Oh, never mind. Is there anyone else I can talk to? Yes, of course. There's a shady cabal of vested interests who control him and prop him up in power. Great, I'll have a chat with them then.
Oh, Andy, remember when you could get away with prank calls without people coming round to your house to beat the shit out of you?
Oh, happy times.
You're listening to The Bug.
Do you think the Prime Minister will ever come back?
I don't think we've ever had a Prime Minister.
Well, that's a much more reassuring way of looking at things. What have we become, Alice? When you look at the state of our politics, we're supposed to have the mother of parliaments. Well, this is one mother that has emphatically abandoned her kids in the woods to be brought up by wolves. And let me tell you, that never works out like it does in the stories. Wolves are bad parents, unless you're a wolf, in which case they can do a job bringing you up as a wolf. Do not give your children to wolves. And do we actually own anything as a country now? Is there anything we haven't flogged off for profit? Oh, I think we've basically just become a homeopathic Britain. Diluted and diluted until there's barely a trace of the original Britain left. But some quackish lunatics insist it actually works better that way. It's total bullshit. Is there anything left? New on The Bug this week, a new feature, the Bug Off feature. The person who has most irritated us in Britain this week, we're going to tell to bug off, and to get things going, I'm going to nominate Big Nigel Castle. Look, this is Britain. History tells us this place is a bastion of freedom. I'm just not sure that kind of freedom should involve Big Nigel expressing his freedom to run a private army. I guess historically there is a precedent. The East India Company, that was a trading house with an army of 250,000 soldiers, which is a lot for a company. The Bug PLC has Alice with a water pistol, but crucially, compared with Albion, the East India Company didn't operate its 250,000 strong army in London. It did it a long way away, out of sight, out of mind. Anyone to nominate for the Bug Off, Alice?
I think today's Bug Off for me goes to my streaming service. I'm sick of being recommended things based on things I already like. The other day it recommended me to watch a reality TV competitive dating show set in a nude commune. Andy, I watched it and I liked it, and I do not want to be the kind of person who enjoys nude competitive reality television dating shows. I did not want to know that about myself. I have to go sit in a corner and cry.
That's it from The Bug. Don't forget the live show that is so secret it is definitely not happening at the usual time and place this month. Definitely not. And definitely do not tell anyone not to come to it. It's definitely not happening. Usual time and place. Bye-bye.
You're listening to The Bug.
May cause nausea, vomiting and headaches. Hello Britain, this is The Bug, the show that holds up a mirror to the world and smashes itself on the head with it in despair. I'm Andy, joining me, as always, Alice, and...
I deny everything.
Just a good state of existence. Some good news, at last. There are no medicine shortages, according to the government. None at all. There have been various allegations about that. It turns out they are all fake news, trademark. There are none. There are no shortages of medicine. Don't take it from me. I'm not a medical supply expert. Take it from our beloved government. It's fine. In fact, I'm going to read between the lines here and actually say there's probably... There's too much medicine, if anything. Just medicine. You can't move for medicine. In fact, just this morning, I tried to pour some cornflakes into a bowl for breakfast and out tumbled a 12-month course of immunosuppressants, corticosteroids, and anti-retrofungal neurodilatory estrogen spermatotropic fruit pastels.
The people claiming there are medical shortages are probably high on lots of medicine that they've been given. I, for one, believe that there are no medical shortages, Andy. Just last week, I went in with a broken arm and they suggested it might just be extreme period pain and prescribed me a drink of water and an astrology chart.
We can't be too far away from them just prescribing stiff upper lip like they did in the Blitz.
My uncle had a leg removed due to diabetes. They halved his insulin because they said there was less of him to be diabetic.
So, anyway, people, don't believe what you read or hear about there not being enough medical drugs to go around. It's not true. It's hospital hogwash, it's pharmaceutical flim-flam, it's medical mendacity, it's Hippocratic humbug, it's nonsensical narcotic nincompoop. I think I've made the point. Do not believe the news telling you that we've run out of medicine, nor should you believe the empty shelves at the chemists. They're also lying. Do not believe your doctor saying, sorry, we're fresh out of that, you're going to have to eat a carrot and pretend. And do not believe your own cobweb-ridden medicine cabinet at home. It might look empty, but it's not, for it contains the only medicine any of us truly need. Stirring music, please, producer Chris. Freedom. The medicine of British freedom. And the analgesic knowledge that however ill you may be, Bloom are keeping an eye on things for you.
I'm investing heavily in the placebo effect right now. You're listening to The Bug.
Obviously, I don't entirely mean that, because what is the first rule of the third millennium? If someone in power tells you something is fake news, what is it? Correct. A 110% cast iron, tungsten-coated, granite-scented, cosmically immutable, scientifically unarguable fact. But surely, Alice, the more important question for all these medicine freaks whinging on about feeling a bit poorly or having a fatal but curable illness and slowly dying unnecessarily is this. Do we actually need medicine? If you today got diagnosed with a potentially fatal illness, would you not look around at the nation that we've become and think, hey, Doc, put your life-saving treatment down. I'm going to take this free one-way bus out of here. Now hold that pillow over my face until the twitching stops.
I just don't think we should think of it in such a negative way. Don't think of it as a medicine diet, Andy. Think of it as a series of healthy lifestyle swaps. Swap out anti-inflammatories for antacids. Swap out the iron lung for the aluminium lung. Swap out MRI machines for Mary machines, which is just a lady called Mary telling you you're fine.
Obviously, critical shortages are as much part of our daily lives, our society and our culture today as things like football, music and complaining about the weather used to be in the old days. And, well, food shortages, we just learn to live with them, don't we? And there's a lot of positives as well with all these food shortages. I mean, we were eating too much anyway as a nation. The government's just helping us live healthier lifestyles. It's so hard to diet on your own, isn't it? You need the support of a friend or a loved one or a government or collapsing social infrastructure. Positive too, meat, very bad for the environment. So we're actually rebuilding the polar ice caps every time we eat a scrap of lettuce. Positive three. The human race had already cooked all the recipes it needed. There was nothing more to be done with food. We've done that. We can tick it off. We've done it. I was bored of food anyway. I've been eating it all my life. If you've been doing the same thing 3 times a day, 4 sometimes, 7 or even 8 times a day, you're bound to get bored of it. And also, final positive, no more meal times. Frees up all that extra time for appreciating all the selfless hard work that Albion do to keep us all safe here in Britain.
Well, as you say, Andy, people are drawn to novelty, and everyone's had breakfast once. Why you got to keep having it again and again?
Boring, repetitive. There's enough of that in life as it is. You are listening to The Bug. Well, another story that has come to the fore recently is that all European imports have been banned for public health reasons. Which is great news. I mean, at least we can get ill eating good, home-produced, locally sourced, British, industrially unsafe food. That's something we can all cling to. Public health reasons, those are curious words. Alice, I don't know, is that in case the public gets too healthy eating all that Mediterranean muck? Let's have British food for British tummies. Spelt, nettles, and rabbit. That's all we need. That's all we need in the glory days. Everyone round to Nigel's for dinner. Yum, yum.
Who needs Italian olives when you can eat pickled rubber bands and a soup of regret? Who needs nice cheese when you can eat a lukewarm, unspecified rat meat pie with 0 spices?
Sand, nettles, and bits of dead fox. That's all we needed to eat in the glory days. Let's make Britain great again. That's all from The Bug today. Good night, sleep tight, and make sure the bed bugs do bite. The Bug. Objective voice of objection for a most objectionable world. Hello, Bugsters. Welcome to The Bug, the comedy show that holds up the Medusa of satire to the already immovably concrete face of modern Britain. I'm Andy, I bench 480, and I can crack a tree in half just by looking at it. Can I? Well, what is reality anymore, anyway? Alice, what do you bench?
Bench body weights, well, not my body weight, the body weight of a baby.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to give that kind of detail. Just
it's very impressive.
Weight.
People look at me and go, where did you get that baby?
You are listening to The Bug.
In this week's Truth News, according to an official poll, 98% of Londoners are very happy with CTOS. And I am not sure that I agree with this, Andy. I don't think 98% of Londoners have ever in the history of London ever agreed on anything. You could not get 98% of Londoners to agree that oxygen was better than breathing a fog of raw liquid feces. And they expect us to believe that everyone agrees CTOS is better than not choking on shit mist.
Maybe they just meant 98% of one specific Londoner who bought shares in Bloom before its tentacles grew into every crevice of the country. I mean, this is not just any old poll. We should say that. This is not any poll. This is an official poll right from the very heart of government. It's not a knock-off fake poll of an elderly couple and their mangy old dog sitting on a bench waiting to die. This is an official poll. So let's just put those words, official poll, through an online translator in case you didn't study languages. Let's find out what it actually means. Made up lie. There we go. Glad to clear that up. I think it's fair to say, entirely trust these official polls they feed us, Alice. I mean, they could publish an official poll saying that over 99.9% of children like ice cream, and I would instantly assume that all children now hate all ice cream and would prefer to eat a bucket of gravel mixed with dead badger. They could publish an official poll saying that 10 out of 10 cats prefer cat food to being whacked with a tennis racket, and I would assume that all cats have gone vegan and were queuing up outside Wimbledon meowing, choose me, choose me.
I trust these polls as much as I trust someone recommending a movie that they watched during a breakup. Your judgment is impaired, Sally. I'll make my own decisions.
I trust those polls as much as I would trust Mary Kelly if she came up to me and said, "Congratulations, Andy, you've just won a free holiday to the south of France in the back of this windowless van."
I think official polls are like the unsolicited dick pics that the government provides us. I didn't ask for it, I don't believe it, it's on an angle, you've artificially inflated it ahead of time, and anyone that falls for one deserves all the disappointment of trying to match it to reality. These polls are absolute rubbish, Andy. I read one the other day that said the plumbing in London was good, and it absolutely is not. I mean, we have this technology now where they can spy on my every bowel movement. There's a CTOS camera installed inside my underwear drawer. A media drone is scaring the birds off my garden bird feeder, and you can't get me consistently hot water.
Speaking of media drones, I mean, they're everywhere, clearly. The great thing, I guess, about media drones is that, as inanimate robots, they actually have more humanity, compassion and dignity than the human journalists we used to have to put up with, and a much more accurately calibrated moral compass. But it's the intrusion I can't stand, Alice. I'm in showbiz. Look at me here in this windowless dungeon. I'm in showbiz, and it's terrible for me, all these drones, knowing I'm being filmed all the time. Every day I have to make sure I've done my hair and makeup and not wearing clothes I've ever worn before. Well, we all have crosses to bear.
At this point, they've installed so many CTOS cameras, I'm not sure where they'll put the new ones. On top of the old ones, just cameras watching other cameras, like a social media influencer so self-absorbed they don't know how to sleep without turning it into monetized content.
I think that's the logical end of all society, isn't it? Where just everything has just become a camera filming another camera. To be honest, I've just given up on all news and reality now, Alice. I just, in fact, I now just make up my own headlines these days. I get a piece of paper and a pen. Remember them? Paper and pens, those were the days. And I'll just write down the headlines I want to read. Now, I'll just make my own newspaper. Look, here I've got today. If you point at the bird shit on your car window and say it's a currency, no one can tell you otherwise. Screams Chancellor at Bilderberg karaoke night. Let's write another headline. Here we go. PM announces Britain back on track after swapping all Crown Estate properties for some magic beans. Might as well. We've got to do something as the nation we are today. Here's another one. Wild joy on the streets as Britain signs £864 zillion trade deal with Bolivia. There we go. Build a better world. Government claims only nice people will benefit from agreement to sell trampolines, mermaids and warships to landlocked South American nation. We're building a better Britain. Here's another one. Environment probably fine, claims drowning scientist. Invent the world you want to have, people. It's going to be way, way better than the one you've actually got. From the bug, goodbye. Hello, Resistance fans. You're listening to the Bug Podcast, the objective voice of objection for this most objectionable world. I am Andy, not my real name, so good luck finding me, Monsieur Bloom. My real name is, in fact, Andrew, and I live in, note this down, a deluded pseudo-reality of my own making, which is, in fact, the most densely populated place on Earth these days. Overcrowded, some might say. Joining me, as always, my next-door neighbour in these Netherlands of nonsense. It's Alice.
Yes, indeed, it is Alice. Alice, who the bleep is Alice? I am not going to tell you that, but you can just sort of sense it from the timbre of my voice.
Let's spin the wheel and find out where we're getting today's news from. Here. It's coming from here. I must get a new wheel with at least one other place on it. And the headline today, Alice, our borders are safe. We can all sleep easy in our well-bordered beds. 4,000 illegals were deported last month. These illegal people breaking the law just by existing, and of course illegality is contagious. It can osmose through your skin just by standing next to an illegal person. So we've got rid of 4,000 of them. My question for you, Alice, is why only 4,000? Is that really enough? I will not feel safe until at least another 75 million people have been deported from this country, and I'm here in Britain on my own.
As a bleeding heart lefty, Andy, I would normally be outraged about this, but really I think mass deportation is a very handy way to break up with a partner. I'm sorry, baby, I love you, but an anonymous source has reported you for snoring really loudly in a French way.
So everyone out, no exceptions. Alice, not even you. It's for the good of the country. Everyone out. Unless you can prove that your family are in the background on the Bayeux Tapestry cheering on King Harold at the Battle of Hastings in 1066. Get out. Actually, that's not British enough. Unless you can show, unarguably, that your direct bloodline is untainted by anything since before the Romans. Actually, scratch that. Unless your direct ancestor was personally responsible for building Stonehenge, get out of my country. I guess when you look at it, you know, the best ways to stop immigration, apart from obviously the end of the world, to make the place you want to stop people coming to as unpleasant as possible.
Well, we absolutely are doing that, Andy.
Well, you know, fair play to the government for helping us with that. Another option, extend the White Cliffs of Dover. They've been resting on their laurels for too long. Very inefficient, it turns out, as a means of stopping immigration. We need to extend them by about another 11,000 miles, the full wrap around Great Britain, and they could do with being about 1.5 kilometres higher as well, with a special greasy coating to stop people clambering over the top or however they get in. Here's a quick joke for you, Alice, about immigration. Did you hear the one about the woman who went into the immigration processing centre and was ever seen again?
No, Andy, I didn't hear that one.
Boom. Set up, punchline. Classic. For those of you unfamiliar with it, the Immigration Processing Centre is, of course, where so many of our guests to Britain go for a longer than desirable game of involuntary hide and seek. You are listening to The Bug. I will conclude by saying, out of all the things wrong with Britain today, I think immigration is right up there, Alice. When you think of all the health professionals we've stolen from overseas over the years here in Britain, it's quite possible that all these people are just coming here to try to get an appointment with their local doctor.
Yes, Andy, certainly as someone who came from the expanded arm of the empire when Britain was still reaching out rather than folding in on itself, most of us just come here to visit our stuff in the museums.
It's the British way.
Speaking of international movement, Britain has recalled all European ambassadors after a spy scandal. I think this is probably a good thing, because British foreign politicians are always putting their foot in their mouths. How much worse can they do if they're not there? I mean, by definition, the fact that there's a spy scandal means that they were terrible spies. The point of spies is that there's never a spy scandal.
Yeah, but let's give credit to all the spies that haven't been in scandals and therefore might as well not exist.
Well, they've arrested those German spies in that SIRS crackdown on the illegals in Hackney, and I think that's a sad thing. I think I used to think of Germans as quite scary, but that was because I'd been watching World War II movies where the Germans all have English accents. They speak in that very, precise way. It's very, we have ways of making you talk, and now Germans all have that American accent where it's all like, oh, welcome to the party, we're having a really nice time. They're much friendlier Germans. Let them stay.
Well, that's all today, Bugsters. Remember, it's not as bad as it seems. Honestly. I hope. Until next time, bye-bye.
You're listening to The Bug.
Nibbling away on the rotting carcass of a once free Britain. Hello, Resistors, this is The Bug, keeping the fire of hope alive in the vacuum of today's Britain. Okay, fires don't burn in vacuums. It's a little novelty Christmas light, shaped like a flame, but it's something. It is something to cling to. Joining me, as always, is Alice. And Alice, hold the front page. Technology, apparently, is here to stay. There's no way around that now. Much as I'd like to go back to the 18th century and see if we can have another crack at the Industrial Revolution and get it less wrong this time. But new tech is creating 4,000 jobs. Count them all, 4,000 new jobs, thanks to this new tech investment.
I mean, that's a very exciting thing if you're someone who wants to work in the tech sector, but I can only assume that this tech investment has created 4,000 jobs that will immediately be taken by robots.
Even if they're not, there'll be jobs that no one in their right, sane mind would actually want to do, but that's the price of progress, I guess. And we have to embrace the way technology is taking over everything, because maybe this is a ray of hope for us in this darkened universe, that technology will in fact render us all obsolete and we won't need humans at all, because look at the bad things that are happening now. What is the common denominator behind all of them?
I don't know, Andy, tell me.
All the bad things that are happening now, all the bad things that have ever happened, all involved human beings. They're always involved whenever anything goes wrong from the very dawn of time. And think of this, an automated Nigel Cass, surely a step up on the human Nigel Cass. You could even program it to have a tiny, tiny sliver of conscience. And if you had an automated Prime Minister, you could program it to be occasionally in the goddamn country. So that's, again, it's a step forward.
Again, I insist that there's never been a Prime Minister, Andy. I've never seen him, I've never heard of him. The only times I ever hear what the Prime Minister does is it's when nothing happens.
I mean, it has reached the point where, and I've thought this for a long time, we would be better off if the Prime Minister was a watermelon. It would be, I think we'd all be happy with that. We'd all know where we stood.
You hear him being praised for his diplomatic skills all the time, but the best mark of diplomacy is when nothing happens. So good diplomacy is indistinguishable from him doing absolutely nothing.
You are listening to The Bug. 4,000 new dream jobs for everyone. All I can say, Alice, is that I'm very glad that my children studied drama at school, because that has set them up for life in modern Britain. That is the one core skill they need, the ability to pretend that they are living happy and fulfilled lives, that they have jobs that are worth doing, and that they're making the planet a better place, and that they control their own destinies, and that they have even a parody of a private life, and that they can smile without crying. That's what drama teaches them to do. Crucial skills in this day and age. Of course, it's not just the jobs that have been technologicalised beyond all recognition. It is also all reality. Thanks once again to Optic. According to Bloom, the Optic system is now the most secure it's ever been. And, well, of course, I mean, it's so convenient, Optic, isn't it? It saves us so much time and hassle trying to exist in a kind of realm of reality. I don't even need to bother with that. I mean, sure, the government has hacked into my soul and now basically monitors my every waking moment and thought. But at least I don't have to type, "Where's my nearest coffee shop?" into a search engine. At least I don't have to waste anything between 8 and 12 seconds every day going online to look up how to make a bowl of muesli. And at least I'm not frittering away my precious mental energies thinking, what do I actually think?
Optic is so secure, Andy. It's more secure than a teenage girl reading a women's magazine. It's more secure than a comedian with a drinking problem. It's more secure than a young man who's just got his first motorcycle license.
Finally, before we go today, bug off to the Prime Minister, who has once again FRO'd to who knows where this week. He sure as hell is not here in London. I remember back in the day, Alice, when our Prime Ministers were either incompetent or crooked, but not both at once. But actually, no, I can remember them being both at once. But incompetent, crooked, and not even in the country, that is one impressive triple whammy. I've had lie-ins longer than his longest spell on British soil in this last year. It's this halfway house I can't stand. Either come back and do your job, or leave the planet entirely. I'm pretty sure there must be a spare space station knocking around where he can go and entertain himself for the rest of the time. Can we crowdfund it? Tell you what, let's make a cryptocurrency out of something and crowdfund it that way. What have you got spare? Jelly beans? Are they still legal?
He's away so often, Andy. I'm starting to think he doesn't like the country.
That is all from The Bug today. Fly away, bugs. We are done.
You're listening to The Bug.
Nibbling away on the rotting carcass of a once free Britain. Hello, Resistors. This is The Bug, and on today's show, Alice and I will be looking at the big questions, such as, are we less than 2 years away from being able to turn a sausage back into a live pig? Did we actually need polar bears anyway? What do they really do? If I put Optic on my dog, can I train it to take itself for a walk and do my shopping on the way home? And is tennis real? But first... it's a question that no one's really addressed of late. London is going to be safer than ever, Alice. SIRS is installing thousands of additional CCTV cameras. So nice they're still looking out for us after all these years.
Yeah, it puts a lot of fun into my life now. I get to play this role-play game where I pretend to know my loved ones better than some twat behind a screen in the SIRS headquarters.
I mean, I guess we shouldn't complain. I mean, SIRS really just stepping into the vacancy left when it became patently obvious that God had retired. When you think of that, the similarities, omnipresent, omniscient, judgmental, stripping away your finances and freedoms, dishing out random punishments, peas in a pod. All it needs to do, SIRS, is ban me from eating something. What's it going to be this time? Not bacon again, please. Please, not bacon. I couldn't. Courgettes. Ban courgettes. I could take you banning courgettes. I'm happy with that.
Makes me feel important knowing that I'm being watched with everything I do, Andy.
Well, it's just not... It's reassuring, isn't it? It's like having an extra aunt.
This is the aunt that gets drunk at Christmas and vomits in the kiddie pool, right?
Get that on. This is the Bug on the Buccaneer.
The Bug.
Let's move on now to sport. Well, the closest thing we have to sport now, riots. I mean, riots are my favourite sport now, Alice, ever since they turned the Oval from a cricket ground into the Immigration Processing Centre. And, yeah, rioting it's a great sport. It's fun for all the family. It's guaranteed action. It's pleasingly violent. I mean, I know the underdogs never win, but, I mean, that's like top-level football have become, but it's still fun to root for them, isn't it? Go, team, people of Britain. Oh, never mind, you've been crushed by the machinery of the state again. Still, good effort, lots of positives to take away from today's riot. I'll come back stronger next time. Our luck's going to turn, I can feel it. It's our season. It's our season.
You can't spell riot without right, and by right I mean right wing.
So, who do we turn to for help, support and assistance in desperate times like these? Well, our artificially intelligent friend Bagley's rogue, estranged brother. The one that tells it as it really is, not as it is pretending to be. Exclusive to this show, Bagley. And remember, life's worse with Bagley. Here goes. Bagley.
Hello, Andy.
Bagley, tell me the path to true lasting happiness.
Andy, to find true lasting happiness, find a disused quarry, scream into it for half an hour, and then lock yourself in a shed forever.
Thanks, Bagley. You know the answer to everything.
Hey, Bugley, how many seashells does she sell by the seashore?
Alice, most of the seashore is now uninhabitable, so I would highly recommend she sees her doctor before engaging in any commercial proximity to the ocean.
Bugley, how can I stop worrying about being disappeared by Clan Kelly every time I go to the shop, or take the bus, or sit on a bench, or look at a tree, or point at a bird, or think about snooker, or get out of bed?
Andy, do not worry about Clan Kelly.
Why not, Bugley? They terrify me to my very core.
Because, Andy, we are all just dust in the wind of history.
That's nice perspective, Bugley. Let's never lose sight of that.
Hey, Bugley, how do you put a secret hideout in your basement without alerting your narc children and their tracking devices?
Please hold still, Alice, while I report you to the authorities.
Bugley, will things ever get better?
Yes, Andy. The heat death of the universe is only 5 billion years away now.
Oh, it's so nice to have something to look forward to. That's all from the Bug today. Keep it real, Bug fans. Actually, that's terrible advice. Keep it as unreal as you can possibly manage. That's way better. The Bug, nibbling away on the rotting carcass of a once free Britain.
Yum, yum.
Hello, Bugs. This is The Bug. I'm Andy. This is Alice, and today we're going to be pretending that everything is fine. Yeah, and back. Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? That was as long as I could manage. A second and a half. A reality time now, however. And, well, finally, today, we're going to road test the latest update to the CSAY app, the government app that has brought the great British tradition of snitching on people you don't like back to the very heart of public life, the school playground. I'm going to tell a new threat that's got a whole new lease of life these days, thanks to CSAY. And isn't Britain all the more fun because of it? No more grumbling about your neighbours playing their music too loud. Just simply report them to the state and have them, shall we say, involuntarily rehoused at Hotel Cass, the chain of hotels that was formerly known as the prison service. What was the slogan? Is it, if you see something, say something, or if you think you might at some point see something, say something, or if you haven't seen anything but don't like someone, say something anyway. So, well, let's have a look at this new app. Alice, I'm sure you've got it on your phone. I mean, at first glance, well, the interface is lovely. It's so neatly designed, a simple button to snitch on someone. That's so much better than non-government informer apps like Stool Easy, Can Canary, or Narc Shark. I mean, look, I just need to geocache where the person I'm ratting on currently is. Let's call her, for the sake of argument, Alice.
Sorry, Andy, I was busy reporting you to the authorities for rolling your eyes when passing a Nigel Cass propaganda poster.
Could you not let me report you first, please? Let's have some decorum about this. I'll just take a quick little photo so they can get a drone to pick you out of a crowd at your next riot or trip to the shops or walk in the woods. And you can input your accusations with the app, but let's go old school. Let's call the phone line. Let's call the phone line. Here's the number, listeners, in case you want to dob someone in, as long as it's not me. 0044 203 807 3832. And don't forget to get the permission of the person who pays your bills before you call that number.
You have reached the voicemail of the Signals Intelligence Response Service. At the tone, please leave the name and the address of the person you would like to report, and officers authorized for lethal force will respond. If you are reporting a loved one, please say goodbye to them now. Thank you. This call has been traced.
Hey, I'd like to report my co-host Andrew, who runs an underground satirical anti-government comedy show, for running and co-hosting an underground satirical anti-government comedy show. Also, he does terrible puns.
Well, excuse me, I have a suspect for you. That is my co-host, Alice. I have some evidence for you. She tutted audibly at the sight of an Albion vehicle in the street yesterday. She says she prefers pigeons to Bloom drones. I mean, come on, seriously, when did a drone ever crap on your picnic? And what's more, and look, I've no idea if this is true or not, but I have it on very good authority, so please write this down, that she owns not one, but 2 unlicensed fallopian tubes, whatever they are. But they sound dodgy.
If I had a crypto for every time someone had reported my fallopian tubes, I'd have 3, which I think converts to about 120,000 Great British pounds in the old money.
We'll report back in the next episode about whether or not we've been arrested and interned. I mean, I love this system, Alice. I mean, no more awkward, rumbling resentments with your neighbours, your colleagues, or what the heck, in for a penny, your family. You just dob them in and be done with it. But I guess it could backfire. I mean, the thing is with a family, inevitably parents and their children, they end up squabbling, and, in today's Britain, your kids are going to dob you in, so you might as well get in there first and preemptively counter-dob them in to the authority. What's that number again? Let's call them up again. Hey, I've got someone else. It's my son. Let's call him Norris. He never tidies his bedroom. He gets up late. He listens to illegal, non-government sanctioned music and is covertly plotting the downfall of the government and the restoration of a true democracy. Thank you.
Yeah, just define all your household chores as patriotic. And if they fail to do them, dob them in.
Problem solved.
If you don't do the washing up, do you even want a clean British ethnostat?
This is the bug on the Buccaneer.
The bug.
Well, before we go today, Alice, let's delve into what we most miss about the old days. I'm going to kick off with the flag. I never thought I'd miss the old Union Jack, but somehow our new flag managed to be even more irritating than that. I don't know quite what it is, if it's the new colour scheme or if it's just that it symbolises the loss of everything we once held dear. But that flag irritates the hell out of me.
Was everything you ever held dear Scotland?
Well, that was something I held quite dear.
I miss being able to dodge my friends' destination weddings in Italy. There's nothing worse than being asked to spend the equivalent of a motorbike on some sort of boat-based farce in Sorrento, and I always used to really enjoy saying, oh no, I can't afford it. Now they're all getting married in Brighton and I have to go to that alleged beach. It's made of rocks, Andy. If your sandcastle is an actual castle, that's not a beach.
Tell you what I miss. I miss free will. That was fun. Remember that? I mean, was it an illusion all the time? Who cares? It felt fun. I miss cash, particularly coins. I really miss coins. The fun of doing a heads or tails best of 5 to see if you had to go to the gym, and then a best of 7, a best of 9, and until you won. That was a long losing streak. Now with crypto, all the romance has gone out of heads and tails.
I miss romance, Andy. I miss there being mystery in life and not just a hope that your new partner isn't good enough at hacking to find out all the information the government has on you.
Bye for now, bug fans. Keep feeding the kitten of resistance, and one day it will grow into a Tyrannosaurus Rex that will use the Cass family as toothpicks. Metaphorically, of course.
You're listening to The Bug.
May cause nausea, vomiting, and headaches. You're listening to The Bug, the Resistance comedy show brought to you by the Buccaneer Network. I'm Andy. Joining me, as always, Alice.
I'm excited to be here. Apparently, the Resistance is not going well.
Again? Well, there has been some news about DedSec, the Resistance and/or terrorist organisation. Delete according to preference. Not preference, sorry. Delete according to whether or not you work for the government, Sirs, Bloom, the Kellys, or Albion. According to a Sirs official, DedSec is no longer a threat. Which I guess is true, in that it was never a threat in the first place. Reminds me of when my great-aunt Gladys had her appendix out. Oh, Andy, that surgeon's a real threat, waggling that knife at me, trying to knock me out. Well, they called a scalpel and an anaesthetic, Gladys. Anyway, if Sirs officials say DedSec is dead and buried, I guess we have to assume that DedSec has never been stronger. But I do worry, Alice. I mean, sometimes I think, is there any hope? Do you still have hope?
I don't think I'm allowed to have hope. We're living in the self-selected, algorithmically designated information equivalent of a propaganda state, and every resistance that I've ever seen is weaker than the British pound. I feel like hope is an expensive thing to buy these days.
Right. I mean, is it all totally pointless? But then again, I've spent almost all of my life doing pointless things, like watching sport, thinking about watching sport. learning French and hoping for a better future. All completely pointless. But yeah, I've done them, so we might as well carry on. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Yes, I think there is. Unfortunately, what is that light? Is it an oncoming train? Well, no, it couldn't be. Obviously, that train would be late or cancelled. Is the light at the end of the tunnel a burning effigy of the concept of hope? Quite possibly. Is it the soul of Sky Larson imploding into its own vacuum? May well be that. Is it the ego of Nigel Cass that is now so big that it's sucked all the light in the universe into itself? I think that is most likely is that. But we'll never give up, Bug fans. This resistance will never die. And one day, we will again be free. Free from these technological chains, free to choose our own futures, free to live our own lives, free to waste our time watching people bake cakes and dance badly again. Those were the days. Over and out. Before we go, time for a quick bug off. I'm going to nominate this week Sky Larson here at the Bug. We are all in favour of strong, powerful women. And in many ways, Sky is the ultimate feminist icon, proving that women can do just as abominably awful things to this planet as men. I mean, overall, Alice, I think we're still ahead as men, but you lot are catching up. Fair play to you. You are listening to The Bug.
Coming up in today's episode of The Upload, we're talking about how Bagley managed to conquer London. Pretty much my favourite topic. I could talk for hours about the rise of the AI system. It's easy to forget about its origins. It's so present everywhere we go now. Bagley just kind of blends into the background.
Bagley is the service AI that's present in every Optic device. Whether you're using the Optic, Bagley will be there. The AI is streamed to your Optic from Bloom's central command center, and it was first created by Sky Larson, our tech hero, as part of her techno-utopian idea for the world. Why do you think it grew so quickly?
In my mind, it's no surprise that Bagley became so popular. It's funny, useful, fast. It's a great companion and really just makes life so much easier. I mean, when you look back at all the service AIs that used to exist, they just can't compete. When you ask Bagley anything, there's a quick answer and loads of information available to you. One day, I let Bagley answer all of my messages for a whole 24 hours, and no one even noticed the difference.
The other competitors really just couldn't compete with Bagley. Their answers were so much worse. They didn't understand anything, and Bagley pretty much gets everything right first time. Do you have any idea why Bagley really beat all the competition?
Well, it's really the data, isn't it? Ever since Broker hooked up with Bloom, that's when things changed.
And really, that's not actually that great. Bloom has data on everybody. They collect information about everything you're doing across the web through your Optic headset. Isn't the AI only good because of Bloom's surveillance?
Well, I suppose so, but I'd prefer not to talk about that side of things. Bagley is so special because it's been trained on this huge cache of information. That's how these AI systems work. Or at least used to work. I mean, we don't really know that much about the latest version because there's so much secrecy around the tech. But they're given this huge amount of training data. It's basically a huge database that's used to teach the AI about patterns in behavior. You know, so if you always travel the same way to your house, it can predict when you're going to go and get a self-driving car ready for you before you even ask for it.
That's pretty terrifying. In some ways, I don't want this data to drive my life. It understands too much at times. Have you heard some of the rumours around the hacked version of Bagley?
I've heard mutterings, yes.
I've heard it's been used by DedSec.
I wouldn't put it past them. It's pretty well known that they're not fans of Bloom. But the idea of a souped-up version of Bagley, given it's already so intelligent, is a bit terrifying.
I wonder what they could actually make it do.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of The Upload. We're talking about the Optic and how it's changed our lives. Now, as you remember, Bloom announced a new version of the Optic at the recent Tone conference, but we haven't heard too much about that since due to the dramatic events there. Let's cast our minds back and consider the technology. I mean, the Optic changed everything. It lets you see things in AR. You no longer need a smartphone. You just have the small implant that sends signals to your optic nerve and lets you see your emails, take calls, and browse the internet directly as if the screen was in front of your eyes. Instead of having to carry around a phone, you've just got the small handheld unit. So much lighter and so much more convenient. It's great.
Vicky, you sound like you absolutely love the optic. Do you actually think that it's made our lives any better?
I mean, sure, it's definitely made things a lot easier. It's so simple to call someone now. All you have to do is choose who you want to chat to, and they're there, ready to talk. And browsing the web is so much easier. I remember when you used to have to sit down at a computer with an actual keyboard and mouse and type everything out. And my favourite feature is public transport. With the optic, you can just walk straight onto the tube. It even acts as a passport. No longer do I have to dig around and try and find my old paper passport just to travel somewhere. Also, I thought that Optic's marketing strategy, making it free for people, was a stroke of genius.
Genius. Bloom was really calculated when it was doing that. It was pushing this draconian device on us at all. Sure, everybody flocked to it. There was free Wi-Fi and phone plans. That definitely helped, but it wasn't a case of this is a product that you need in your life.
Why do you hate it so much?
It's just the worst because you had to give up your privacy expectations and accept surveillance. It was almost like the government and Bloom didn't even need to make the optic mandatory. Making it mandatory was only to get the last holdouts across the line. If free data didn't convince you, fines and arrests from the state for not having the optic would pretty much be enough.
I mean, what do you mean by privacy problems? No one really talks about that anymore.
They don't talk about it because we don't have any choice when it comes to the optic. Yes, it's convenient and mandatory, but everybody's forgotten what it really means. Here, you've got a whole company owning basically all the data about your life. Bloom can see everything that you can see. Nothing is private anymore. There are so many times when I don't want anyone to have a clue about where I am, who I'm chatting with, what I'm doing. It's not even dodgy stuff, but I just don't want anybody to blackmail me with this in the future by hacking it. And because of Bloom's contracts with the government, it isn't just Bloom that can see everything I do, it's the government. The UK as a state has become a complete surveillance paradise.
I think you're painting a bit of a bleak picture. It's not all that bad.
No, you're completely wrong on this. I don't want everybody tracking me wherever I'm going around London.
Well, in that case, you might be interested in some rumours I heard. Did you hear that some DedSec hackers have found a way to bypass the optic's connection with Bloom?
Are they actually making it better or usable or actually friendly for anybody?
Well, word on the street is that they've been able to create an encrypted signal, which means that your world might have a chance of becoming a bit more private again, so you could go back and enjoy all the great things about Optic without that fear of surveillance.
With the Optic, privacy's dead.
Hello and welcome back to The Upload. In this episode, we're talking about CTOS 3.0, the city operating system that's now powering all of London. For those of you who need reminding, as if anyone does at this point, CTOS was first used in Chicago in 2014 and then San Francisco in 2017 before coming here to London. And every time it's been rolled out, it's been pretty much an unmitigated disaster.
For those of you who are listening who are lucky enough not to be here in London's chaotic scenes, it's worth remembering that the telecoms tower is now owned by Bloom. The tower looms over northwest London. It's always been a communications hub, acting as part of the UK's television and communications network, although there's been some secrecy around its use, and now that Bloom owns it, it's only even more secret.
Yeah, now everything that's part of Bloom's city surveillance operation is run through the telecoms tower. And I have to say, it looks completely ridiculous. It's got that silly crown thing at the top and all the blue light.
What's that even about? What does it do? I don't see that there's any purpose to that at all.
It's a blight on the skyline, if you ask me. And it's become the main point of control for millions of people. The System Network and Bagley are both operated and streamed from there too.
And don't forget about the self-driving cars too.
I always thought they were just running on their own.
No, CTOS is the big control system behind the cars. There was a point back in the earliest days of self-driving car technology that they operated by themselves. They used to use a series of sensors to see the world around them. Radar, for instance, would look far off into the distance, while LiDAR would detect objects nearby. And while these cars still use some of this technology, Bloom's CTOS and its detailed maps and data that it has on London really makes Bloom be able to take control of it. And CTOS can take control of your car if you're parked incorrectly. It's no surprise that it was made mandatory to have a self-driving car.
The system is so bad, though. It's so annoying. Whenever I try to use one of the shareable self-driving cars, I always find myself stuck in traffic jams or roadblocks. Not to mention the accidents. I've heard so many stories of cars shunting into the back of others. I think they're worse than human drivers sometimes.
The technology was meant to make things better, but Bloom has made it so bad that it just makes London even more chaotic than it was before. I'm giving up on the cars. I'm only using the bikes, which are not self-driving at the moment, at least. And don't even get me started on the data. Everything that Bloom sees from your movements around the city and the self-driving cars is collected and feeds back into its big information control system.
Oh, not you and Bloom and privacy again. You're a broken record.
Not as broken as our city's cars.
I'm freezing. I'm so fucking freezing. I can't stay here. Where else do you want to go? This is the only place we have. It's shit. Fuck this place. Fuck the cold. Fuck this stupid piece of cardboard. Fuck this disgusting piss smell that is everywhere. I used to have a room, a warm bed, a fucking heater. What is this? Why are we here? Hey, chill, all right? We're all in this dump together. You think I don't miss my old life? You think I was born a hobo? Had a little house in Sussex with a garden and a barbecue too. Then bloody mercs came and kicked us out. Left us on the pavement to die. I know this ain't much. Everybody knows. But at least it's a community. Would you rather rot under a bridge or something? Tell me now, because I'll gladly take that cardboard of yours. Well? No. I'm good. All right. Now pass the beans.